The roads, highways, I still remember that when Vajpayee Saab was the prime minister and when he was planning this golden quadrilateral, even to lay 200 kilometers, we didn't have EPC companies probably. 200 kilometers we are talking about because that was so complex. People were not available, expertise was not available. But today, thousands of kilometers of highways are being laid. 25,000 kilometers is what we have planned for this coming year, and that's the level of scale we have achieved. And the capex will go a long way. Now, talk about inflation. Even countries like US, they are suffering from 7% inflation, the highest ever in the last 40 years. But in India, it is largely under control. It's 3%. Look at banking system. Look at the amount of NPAs in the banking system. It was in a very bad shape for the last 30, 40 years. And I don't want to discuss too much on that because this will turn political. I don't want that. Whoever has invested in the stock market, you know how much of losses you suffered by putting your money, especially in the public sector banks. But in the coming days, in the next years, 2 or 3 years, it's the banks which are going to do extremely well. And most of those NPAs have already come down. The balance sheets have been cleaned. And even this year, you will see that the banks will close their balance sheets very, very well during this year, right? Like we were talking about sunrise industries, typically when you talk about fintech, drones, air technology, 5G technology, because there's not one single sector that the government has not touched. Look at the national infrastructure pipeline, crores of money that is going. You have these monetization plan, and I will be putting up a separate video on monetization. Many a times it happens in the center of the city. You have a dilapidated building. He's the owner. It may be worth crores of rupees, for example, because I have a friend who has this kind of a house in Coimbatore, Center Place. But the guy does not have any earning. He doesn't even have money to cut the grass because that house needs to be monetized. Give it for parking, give it for something. It has to be monetized, right? We need to monetize. That makes economic sense. That is what the government is trying to do. You know, many people are accusing the government of selling family silver, etc., etc., privatization. It's not a family silver. Look at Air India. One day, if you're thousands of crores every day, if the company runs for another day, you are incurring a loss of thousands of crores of rupees, right? That's a different topic. We will talk about that later. So privatization is important, monetization is important, national infrastructure pipeline is important. I will be putting up separate videos on these things. Like so many other things are happening. Drones, talking about equipment manufacturing, 5G technology is coming. I've already put up a video on 5G technology where we talked about blue ocean strategy, where your Google company has invested $1 billion in Bharti Airtel. Last year, they invested 5 billion in Reliance Jio. Both are competitors. It's a duopoly, two-player market. But even in that, he's put money in both the companies, right? If company like Google can invest so much, there is something, right? So it's all about 5G, and the government is doing a lot about it. And apart from that, there's another India Digitization Fund where Google has invested $10 billion. It's not a small amount. 75,000 crores, guys. Sundar Pichai is the CEO, our Indian, and I'm proud he's from Tamil Nadu, right? Of course, he's an Indian and we are all proud of him. You have OFT, optic fiber technology, sunrise industry. We are talking about those, and we cannot fall behind when the world is going ahead. A lot of MSME supports are also, but there are some issues also. What are the issues? Major issue is employment. For example, if you look at this instances which have happened in the railways for few jobs, crores of people have applied for job. That talks about the employment situation in our country. So a lot needs to be done, but we can hope that with all these infrastructural investment, employment will be taken care of. But at the same time, the issue is people who are in the top of the pyramid, they are the ones who are getting benefited. Rich people are getting richer, poor people are getting poorer. The people in the lower pyramid, they are getting affected. If you look at profits, Corporate profits have increased by 70%, but that's happening for big companies. But if you look at small companies, MSMEs, they are suffering a lot. So I think certain economic policies are done based on political necessities, because policies have to keep in mind the economic development. Farm laws have been, repulsed political compulsions. GST on petrol is another thing which has still not been implemented. These are some of the heartburns we have, right? Growth and inflation needs to be balanced very well. Government, of course, has done their level best, but a lot needs to be done on that area. And political expediency is another problem, because some of these things on privatization, all that has been delayed. Rural consumption is extremely important. Look at companies like HUL, ITC. They have not given good returns at all, because huge issue. Because today I was listening to an interview by Rajesh Sharma, who is executive director of marketing in Bajaj company. He was saying the sales are getting affected only because big companies, car companies are doing well, but rural demand is not happening, right? Of course, they are getting into electric vehicles. Let us see how they do all this. But remember, wherever this discretionary spending is taking place, that is doing very well, right? Look at Asian Paints, that's doing well. But the issue is with people who live in the lower pyramid, right? And today there is another problem, because most funds are going out of the country for foreign markets. You have Fed tapering which is happening. The extraneous factors are affecting us. US balance sheet contraction is happening. Obviously I won't be able to explain all that in this video. Separate video has been put up on that. Interest rate hikes in US. In fact, inflation has reached 7%, and it's not a joke. Look at CPI inflation. This is CPI. I'm not talking about WPI. WPI is two digits. Even in our country, WPI inflation is two-digit numbers, all because of commodity prices, etc. But we are talking about CPI, which is 3%. Commodity prices have gone up like anything. Your steel, aluminium, rare metals, rhodium, palladium, Then there are international shocks. What is happening between Russia and Ukraine? Disinvestments. Government has failed completely against a target of 1.5 lakh or something. They have not been able to cover even 30% of the disinvestment targets. Capital formation is not happening that much. Credit growth is not taking place. Private capex is not taking place. But I have put up another video to demystify these concepts. Look at OPEC countries. Crude oil is touching $90 now. But in spite of that, OPEC is not increasing its production. I guess they're waiting for crude oil to touch $120, right? These things are going to affect our economy in the coming months, right? And secondly, the government announces a lot of things, but many a times the money is not spent. Every quarter it has to be spent, but many a times what happens, I was doing a small analysis. They save all this, and in the final quarter they will push in all the money, right? They sleep on those files, do due diligence, etc., etc. We have to spend. Uniform spending throughout the year is important. Inflation in US and other countries, they are expected to affect our market. Commodity prices are on the increase. Nothing much India can be done, but certain things can actually be done, right? So these are some of the sectors. Look at oil imports. We're talking about $150 billion, and that's quite a significant amount. Last year it was just $60 billion. I'm talking about crude oil imports, because these are very, very inflationary. Because when the crude oil prices increases, everything increases, because your airline, your cars, mobility, public transport, everything is affected. It has a ripple effect on the complete economy, right? So I will be coming out with another video which will give you, because this gives you a very, very bird's eye view of what is happening. But in the next video, I will also talk about what is GDP, where is the money coming from, where is it going, what is the various kinds of deficits, your primary deficit, your revenue deficits, your fiscal deficits. We will talk about Gati Shakti, talking about multi-logistics park, We will talk about all that. Government is planning to put more than 25,000 kilometers of roads, right? Those days, like I explained sometime back in the year 1998, we didn't have the capacity to put in even 200 kilometers of roads. And look at ease of doing business. We have improved from 150 to many places ahead. We are also talking about China plus one strategy. We're talking about special economic zones. 25 years back we did that, but not much of reforms have been done. For example, in Karnataka there was a SEZ for defense, but nothing much has been done. So the government should start spending energy on those. So these things have to be done. Then manufacturing sector, 15% tax, they had to start their manufacturing facilities, but the government has given 1 year extension because of corona. They have not been able to put up their plant, but the time has been given to them. A lot is being talked about your blockchain, your digital role. And the next one thing that is being talked about is in the coming years, maybe 10, 15, 20 years, more than 50% of the Indian population will live in urban cities. So much is being done for Mandriga, etc. It's not possible for me to include everything in this particular video. I'll be putting up another video where we will talk about MSME, ECGLS schemes, CGTSME schemes, etc., etc. I will be putting up another video which will detail all these topics. Okay guys, I think I have covered most of that bird's eye view. I'm not getting into data, but that's fine. But in the other one, I will give you clear explanation. There another one. Let me talk about income tax. Many people have this complaint that income tax has come down. Guy, please understand, if the government does reduce the income tax, then where will the money come from for your infrastructure and other things, right? Don't keep your mind stuck on that standard deduction of 1,50,000 ATCC to 2,50,000 rupees. Don't worry on small things. It's necessary for us to think big, and whatever being spent, it's going to go, and it's going to come back to us. And I hope you like this video. I request you to watch the second part, and I hope you like this video. And there's no need for you, because to go I will try to give you a complete picture in this kind of a video. But for people who are preparing for IAS, IPS or UPSC civil services examination, you need to have better equipped with data and other things, and for them there will be a separate video, and they need to have in-depth knowledge, and apart from that you have to refer to other books also. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and this is Dr. Sadasivam signing off till we meet again. Bye bye. Jai Hind.